Let's turn now to the principal at Trilogy Advisors, John Sitilides. John, nice to have you with us tonight, always.
Pleasure to be with you.
You know, these sanctions, it sounds like they're going to have a real strong impact on their economy. What if it does? Doesn't that put Kim Jong-un in somewhat of a desperate situation? Your thoughts on these sanctions and how crippling they could be?
I think we in the United States, Ed, and in the West forget what kind of punishment the North Korean regime, the grandfather, the father, and now the son, Kim Jong-un, have been willing to put their own people through, basically ants in a slave colony, in order to prop up the regime. I don't think these sanctions will have the kind of devastating effect that policy planners believe. It's probably going to have to ratchet up before we start to see any real reaction coming out of Kim Jong-un in a tangible way.
What does this mean? No talks. There will be no talks between the United States and North Korea. So where does that leave us?
Well, unfortunately, it leaves us with diminishing options in terms of a more hopeful outcome. The Chinese, I think, are very much concerned about the economic sanctions that will hurt Chinese businesses and Chinese business officials. They're probably also concerned about the possibility of ramped-up sanctions that will prevent Chinese businessmen from owning American real estate. So the Chinese are very much concerned there, but it's still not enough to force them to take the kind of steps that we would like to see out of China to try to pen in Kim Jong-un, look to see how they might denuclearize, which is an almost impossible concept to imagine today, or maybe either offer Kim Jong-un some type of a pseudo-North Korean statelet inside of China to live luxuriously in, or ultimately possibly assassination.
Well, those are pretty extreme options. There's no question about it. But they're backed up possibly by this unanimous vote by the UN Security Council, 15-0, including Russia and China. Yes. So China knows that they hold all the cards right now. But you get a sense that they like the fact that North Korea continues to aggravate the United States because of all the nasty trade talk that's gone back and forth between the United States and China and the threats that have been made from the president himself. With that being all of a backdrop, where is the solution here outside of a military option which could be devastating and only too hard to calculate the real loss of human life? What's the solution?
There are some key experts, Ed, who understand North Korea better than, as I mentioned before, most Westerners who think these types of sanctions can actually affect regime behavior in a positive direction. Two steps would need to be taken, most likely. One is that China would have to end its policy of providing free oil to the North Korean regime, to the North Korean government. That could produce the kind of public, organic grassroots uprising against the regime. The other option is, of course, to have the international community send back to North Korea tens of thousands of North Korean laborers whose remittances help to prop up the regime as well. Then you could start to see not only the potential economic collapse, but the elite military around Kim Jong-un looking at alternatives and maybe overthrowing the leader themselves.
John Sitilides, great insight always. Appreciate your time tonight. Thank you.
Thank you.